In tonight's Business Insider, an update on the housing market. The Federal Reserve is delaying an interest rate hike. The decision threw Wall Street for a loop, but what about the real estate market? For insight, we turn to our guest tonight on Capital Insider, Dr. Lisa Sturtevant, Director of the Center for Housing Policy at the National Housing Conference. Lisa, for months the Federal Reserve had been hinting at an interest rate increase. Now they've changed their minds. What would this do for the housing market? Any impact at all?
Well, it's possible that this delay in an interest rate hike will accelerate the housing market this fall. People who might have waited until after the new year to buy a house might push up that purchase to this fall. But it seems to me that the fundamentals are stronger than the interest rate itself. Janet Yellen actually said that one of the reasons for not increasing the interest rate was the depressed housing market that she saw, the fact that the housing market hadn't recovered as much as you would think given the strong job growth. So it's stagnant wages, it might be high debt, it might be reduced access to credit, it might be psychological, people fearing another downturn in the housing market that's keeping people out of the housing market.
The Fed decision comes after the usually busy spring and summer season. For September, U.S. homebuilder sentiment rose to its highest mark in nearly 10 years. Can we expect the trend to continue, or fall and winter usually slow?
Right, fall and winter are typically slow in the housing market, and I think that all bets are off, though. We've seen such a turmoil in the housing market. We've seen trends that we didn't expect during different times of the year, so I think that we'll just have to wait and see what happens this fall.
Let's switch gears to rentals. For millennials across the nation, renting has been a more affordable option. But now a new report indicates the rental market is becoming more expensive. What's going on?
So the Harvard Joint Center for Housing Studies just released a report that showed that nearly 12 million households in America spend more than half of their income on rent every month, and that over the next 10 years this number is going to increase. There's been high-cost markets where the supply of rental housing hasn't kept up with demand. We've seen wages, as I mentioned, that have been growing more slowly than housing costs. And then the areas where housing is more affordable are not the areas where job growth has been strong. So there's this increased demand for rental housing as people are staying out of the home buying market that continues to put upward pressure on rents.
Is it now becoming more economical to buy?
Well, when you look at some of that affordability data on the rental side, you might think it's more affordable than to buy, but you need to be able to save up for a down payment. You need to be able to access a home loan. And for many, they haven't been able to do that because of student debt, because of a lack of job prospects, or for other reasons.
Lisa, what will stabilize the rental market? More units or what?
Yeah, so I think that in order to bring rents into more affordable levels, there needs to be a greater supply of rental housing, particularly in high-cost markets. The challenge is it's really difficult to build housing that's affordable to lower-income households. There's some regulatory and other barriers that keep that housing from being built. So until some of those regulations are loosened, it'll be difficult to meet the demand.
Before you go, Lisa, let's talk about recent news that JP Chase is getting out of FHA loans. Explain those loans and what's going on.
So an FHA loan is a mortgage insured by the Federal Housing Administration that has a lower down payment requirement and a lower credit score requirement than conventional loans. These are loans very popular with first-time home buyers, with lower income households. And as you mentioned, JP Chase, along with Wells Fargo, actually have pulled back from issuing FHA loans. They're assessing the risk that they see associated with those loans and have decided to price those loans higher to account for that risk that they see. So what's happened is smaller lenders have stepped in to fill the demand for FHA loans, but some of the bigger players have stepped out.
How will this impact the market for first-time home buyers?
So this is a really big program for first-time home buyers, and it's going to make it more difficult, I think, to get into home ownership if FHA loans aren't as available. So right now, about a third of home purchases are first-time home buyers. The norm is over 40%. So you can see that we still haven't gotten the first-time home buyer back into the market as completely as they have been historically.
It's always good getting your insight. Dr. Lisa Sturtevant, Director of the Center for Housing Policy at the National Housing Conference. Thanks again, Lisa.
You're welcome.